Yisrael, V'yimeru. Amen.
Has anyone ever told you that the most important thing in life is to never give up? Anyone been told that? Never give up. That's the most important thing. Keep going. Yeah. We've all been told that. I think a lot. Never give up, never surrender. You hear it when you're a kid. You hear it when you're an adult. Just keep trying. Just keep going. Quitters never win, and winners never quit. Oh, God agrees. Winners never quit. And I think that applies a lot of the time. So much of life that's worth it takes very hard work. And hard work, often being unpleasant, has the side effect of making you want to give up. Yet it's worthwhile, so we encourage, don't give up. However, all that I just said is to defend myself for what I'm going to say now, because I realize it may be, at first listen, an unpopular opinion, but stick with me. I don't think we talk nearly enough about the value, the importance of giving up. And that it's actually really hard to do when it's needed the most. And our resistance to doing so, to quitting, hurts us. Let me give you an example. I was very excited when I started rabbinical school to be in my entering class. These are the people I was going to be in classes with for the next 5 years. That was the plan, that was my plan, and I was like, let's do this thing. Your first semester, your most important class is your text class. It's Mishnah, to be specific. It's like ancient Jewish law. I had never studied Jewish law of any kind, especially in the original language that it was written in. It was written in Hebrew. I was super excited about that too. I didn't even mind being in the slower of the two tracks, which we were divided into based on ability, faster and slower. This is relevant. It was fair, I reasoned, because I didn't really have a background other than, Hebrew school, and you don't really learn to read Hebrew in Hebrew school. I had, if we're being very generous, a decent handle on my letters and vowels, and that was it. That first semester, it very quickly became apparent that I was drowning. Once I translated a section of text, I was fine, I was good, I was great even. It just took me so long because I needed to translate every single thing. I was floundering. Crucially, I was not the only one who noticed that I was struggling. My teacher, Janet, did too. She was with us in class, she watched us in study hall. She definitely knew what was up. At the end of the semester, there's 2 important exams, and failure is not an option, because failing didn't just mean, you got an F, you got to retake it next semester. No. If you failed text class, it meant being held back an entire year. The stakes were very high. I couldn't imagine not being with my entering class, not finishing in 5 years. That was my plan. That was my expectation. So you better believe I studied for those exams like I hadn't studied for anything in my whole life. Had my first exam, had the second one. After the second one, Janet comes to me and says, well done, you passed. I was ecstatic. And your other exam, she said, you passed that one too. At that point, I'm like, thank you, God, thank you. And I say, oh my God, Janet, thank you so much. I'm so glad. And she said, yeah, I'm gonna fail you though. Sorry, what? And she was like 4 foot nothing. She said, yeah, I'm gonna fail you. You'll have to do a remedial class next semester and then retake text. Well, you'll just redo your first year. Why? She said, Sarah, all semester I've watched you. You're clearly good at this, but your lack of language skills is hobbling you. You'll learn them with remedial classes. But I passed. Yeah, she said, you did, because you get how the legal concepts work. You managed to scrape together a pass. But you shouldn't be scraping it together. You shouldn't be in my track at all. You shouldn't be limping at the back of the slow track. You should be racing towards the front of the faster one. You don't belong here. This is not a good place for you. So you need to learn those language skills. So I'm gonna fail you. And she did. And I was furious. I spent a miserable semester getting Hebrew grammar drilled into my head. And the following year, I joined a new class of excited first-year rabbinical students. Undoubtedly, I was the most sour of their very bubbly bunch. I was really just a dark little storm cloud in general that year, that whole time, because this was not my plan. I was supposed to be ordained in 5 years. Now it was going to take 6. And with that group of students, not these ones, this was all wrong. This was not how I envisioned it. This was not how I expected my life to go. I was, if we're being honest, such a sourpuss that year. So something had to give. And as the year wound down, I realized that I did have a choice. I could keep holding on to this vision, this now outdated vision for what my life was going to be, or I could give it up. And it sounds crazy, but that is much easier said than done. That was what I had known, that was what I had wanted, and giving up would mean accepting that my life would not look the way I had thought it would. You ever experienced that? When the life you banked on living just poof, goes up in smoke? That is a singularly awful feeling. But I remembered a quote, and I know you know it. When one door closes, another one opens, right? People know this quote. That's only half the quote, though, by Alexander Graham Bell. It's only half of it. The full quote goes, when one door closes, another opens. But we so often look so long and so regretfully upon the closed door that we do not see the ones which open for us. It occurred to me that if I didn't quit that vision, then I would be trapped in this place of misery, and I would never know what good things might exist outside of it. So I painfully and creakily loosened my grip, and I let those expectations go. I gave them up. And I found when I gave them up, that old dream, that outmoded vision of my life, those expectations that I had, that there was so much positive to be had because Janet was right. I did belong in the faster text track. With the language skills that I learned in remedial class, I could finally keep up. And when I opened myself up to forging new connections with my new class, I found I really enjoyed them. They were good people, and I'm better for the relationships I made there. No one say this. I'm not saying that you need to give up your dreams, give up your goals, your vision for how you want your life to look. I'm not saying, oh, if it gets hard, just give up. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that sometimes we tie ourselves to visions or goals or expectations that are not good for us. And doing that only hurts us, keeps us chasing a future that will or should never exist. But what's more is that by doing so, by chasing what is not actually good for us, we shut ourselves off to all the good that really could be. But it's tricky, because even if you know, and you usually do, even if you know that there's something better for you, a better place for you to be going, it's still really hard to change course, to feel like you're giving up. What I didn't tell you about that story with Janet is that I pleaded with her. I begged her to let me stay the course. When she said, you shouldn't be hobbling at the back of the slow track, I said, let me hobble, please, please. I couldn't see how my older and wiser teacher knew my abilities, knew my capabilities, knew the heights that I could soar with proper support. All I knew was that my vision had been obliterated, and I was not happy about that, and I couldn't give it up for a long time. And why is that? That we can't let things go that are not good for us anymore. Whether that's expectations we have for our lives, goals, habits, even relationships, friendly or romantic. We don't talk about that. We're so invested in our relationships, and we should be. That's important. It's how we build these strong, intimate bonds, our connections to one another that hearten us against life's most difficult storms. But how is it that sometimes we find ourselves tethered to situations that we have outgrown, that don't serve us anymore, or even aren't good for us? I think it's because there are two powerful forces in our lives that sometimes keeps us trapped in this hamster wheel of visions and goals, relationships even, that no longer serve us. It's a twin forces of inertia and nostalgia. Inertia is the force that propels us forward. That's who you've been with. This is where you've been going. This is where you've been headed. This is where you're going to go. Keep on keeping on, nose to the grindstone. It's hard to stop with so much inertia behind you. The job that you've been doing, this extracurricular, you've been taking, this goal you've set for yourself, this vision you had for your life. It's hard sometimes to just stop rolling forward, to even just ask yourself, is this vision, this goal, these expectations, this friendship, this relationship, is it still fitting the way I want to go? Is that where I still need to end up? To even just ask yourself, what about something new, something different? And then there's nostalgia. This one seems like the opposite because inertia pushes you forward, blindly forward sometimes. Nostalgia is the opposite, but it's just as powerful. It keeps you looking wistfully over your shoulder, the chain that binds you to what was. That was your vision, that was your goal, your expectation, your dream. But remember, the nostalgia comes from the Greek words nostos, meaning return, and algos, meaning pain. Literally, the suffering evoked by desire for the past. It was what you expected or were expected to pursue, or you've been together for however long. You can't imagine not having that person around. And it's where you are now, but sometimes that nostalgia keeps you from asking, but where do I want to be in the future? Nostalgia is also painful to fight against because it's so comfortable. It's what we've known. And even if we know it's no longer working, at least it's a known entity. Even if we know it's not good for us anymore, at least it's familiar. So how do we soften the push of inertia and the pull of nostalgia? To really evaluate, are we where and with that which brings us joy and purpose? Are we fulfilling our potential in all things? How do we shake it up, shake ourselves to the core? Well, you're in luck, because as Jews, we get a core shaker. And it's called cheshbon nefesh, an accounting of the soul. When we take a good, hard look at ourselves, how we've acted, yes, of course, but also where we're going and who we surround ourselves with. We strip away the artifice and try to view ourselves as truthfully as we can. It can be painful, but it is necessary in order to answer those questions. And when do we do this cheshbon nefesh? It's only once a year. And wouldn't you know it, according to tradition, it is right now, the high holiday season. Which means now is the time to take that mirror, turn it inward, get really honest with ourselves and say, that's where I was, this is where I am, that's where I'm going, but is it where I need to be? And you may say yes, and that's great. I am on the right path. I am doing the right things. I am ensconced in worthy relationships. These are good choices, and I am staying the course. And you may find that you say, I need to be somewhere else, doing differently with others. There are aspects of my life I need to give up. Cheshbon nefesh is so critical because God knows that it gives us room to build our lives, our goals, our vision and expectations into who we are meant to be. Which means you must accept, you must be brave enough to accept that your life, your singular life, is meant to be a beautiful and wondrous thing. And if you don't take the time to reevaluate all the parts that make it up, you are possibly shortchanging yourself of having all the good that could be in your life. And that would be tragic. I know it's hard to feel like you're giving up on a goal that once motivated you but now doesn't align, a friendship you've outgrown, a relationship that doesn't serve either one of you. It's habits that you've long practiced, but they don't improve you, or perspectives you once held, but they're no longer true. It's hard to quit those things. I know it's hard because I've been there. Each one of those, I've been there. It's hard to imagine. What else could there be? But I'm telling you, it's worth it to do this, because when I gave up the expectation I had in rabbinical school of 5 years and these people, I found that I was finally in the right place, actually, and I was with people who were really good for me. It's worth it to reevaluate your life, to do a cheshbon nefesh and make sure all the parts that make up your life are good for you. The miracle that is you, and to make sure your life is good and right for you. It's only when you quit what is wrong for you that you make room for what is right for you. It's only when you quit what is wrong for you that you make room for what is good for you. And you deserve all the good things that life has to offer. The time for radical self-honesty is now. Im lo achshav az matai, the ancient rabbis teach. If not now, then when? Time is a finite resource. We all run out of time eventually. Why spend your life waiting for it to start? Why waste your life living in a way that does not serve you? Isn't it worth spending your limited time on this earth becoming who you were meant to be, and to have limitless happiness that God knows you deserve? Now is the time to start that self-reflection, to do cheshbon nefesh. Now is the time to live the life that you were meant to live. You deserve it, that best life. You are worth taking the time to make it happen. Taking the necessary steps, even if that means giving up some parts of your life that don't serve you anymore, because you deserve more than that. You deserve better. You deserve the best. I wish you to be sealed for a year of so much room to grow and space to build and the courage to make your